Welcome into Emerald and Lilywhite. We are on episode 6. As always, we are stoked to be here. Not a whole lot to talk about this week, right? There's been a few grumblings in and amongst the Spurs communications across the interweb, but have no fear. Max and I are ready to provide all kinds of content. We've got a fun game we're going to play today. We're actually going to each of us build our all-time Spurs best 11. It'll be snake draft format. So look forward to that in due time. A couple of things we want to go over too that did happen. So there were a few happenings and grumblings, like I said, throughout the week. But before we get to anything, want to bring Max in. Max at Going Limbs on Twitter. What's up, dude?
Sup? Yeah, not too much on the Tottenham front this week. Just wanted to shout out my Boston Red Sox baseball trade deadline was today. Didn't maybe make the moves that I wanted, but we are beating the Seattle Mariners right now. So this is a Seattle Spurs podcast, and the Sox won yesterday and are winning 3-2 today in the bottom of the fourth. So yeah, a little outside of Tottenham sports update for you Seattle folks. Let's go Sox.
You know what? While we're on the topic of Major League Baseball, I'm an Astros fan, which is a dangerous thing to say for someone who calls Seattle home. Did live in Houston before Seattle, so there's a reason for that. But yeah, we just put together a trade yesterday that the majority of the fan base is not happy about.
Yeah, I don't know about
Very
packaging like your entire farm system for a guy with a 5 ERA, but hey, I would have taken him on the Red Sox any day. Honestly, we need lefty help.
No, and that's a huge thing for the Stros is we don't really have a lefty on our staff, point blank period, at this point. Other than our closer, Hader, who we just brought in, right? So I think it was a good move. Yeah, he's had a rough year too. He got beat up last night by the Pirates. But yeah, Kikuchi is a good little pitcher, and I'm not.
Former Mariner.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All-star with the Mariners.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good call. I forgot he was with the Mariners. But yeah, he's anywhere from 93 to 98. He's a lefty. He can pitch in numerous spots throughout a game, I think. So anyways, yeah, this is certainly not an MLB pod, right? We're here to talk Tottenham. But
yeah, one last thing. Sox crushed Kikuchi when he faced him this year, 7 runs. And we just added a former Mariner. I'm trying to incorporate the Seattle thing. And a lefty, James Paxton. Welcome back to the Sox. He's pitching against his former team right now. So, yeah.
There you go. There you go for all you Mariners fans.
All right, that was baseball corner for you guys. So, moving on to the soccer.
No doubt. Well, yeah, like we said, there's a couple things to go over before we get to our all-time best 11s. Going to be a fairly short podcast today for those who have tuned in. Again, kind of a light week, but the first thing we want to Bryan Gil officially does go to Girona on loan. It looks like just a straight raw loan for a season. Yeah, it's a little tough to see, the end of the road for Bryan Gil. We all know it was coming. I mean, this certainly isn't a surprise. We've talked about it before, but for everything we sent the other way to bring him in, it's just disappointing that it never worked out, probably on the scouting department. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Bryan Gil move to Girona?
Yeah, it's a good move for him. Champions League club. I'm happy for him. I hope he tears it up. And I guess we'll be seeing him next summer again. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he does. We'll see what happens. And wishing him all the best.
Yeah, well, what are your thoughts on it being just a loan, right? With no obligation to buy. I don't even know if there's a reported option to buy. It looks to just be a good straight loan. Why can we not move him on?
Yeah, I think it's just a straight loan with a release clause that is now incorporated. So we extended his contract to 2027 now. I believe so. He has like 2 more summers where he's under contract with us. But we added a release clause of 15 million. So maybe the hope is he performs in Spain and someone wants to pay 15
Yeah.
mil, and that's more than what we'd get right now. So I think that's the thinking behind it. And maybe he's still
Interesting.
young and they have like a little bit of hope left for him here, but I highly doubt that happens. So we'll see. We'll just see how it shakes out. I'm not too mad at it. I don't think he was going to be a major source of profit. Like a guy we'll get to, and we can talk about right now, Emerson is like a guy who's going to bring in money that we can use this summer. And
Yeah.
I don't think Hill was going to do anything like substantial for our finances at the moment.
Yeah, well said. I don't disagree with any of that, especially if the design is to, hope for the best with our fingers crossed that he has a good season and somebody comes in and pays 15 million. I agree, it's good business. So yeah, it's an interesting take for sure. And then you mentioned Emerson. Looks like he's within a couple of $1 million away from both teams agreeing on his move to AC Milan. It's looked for quite a while that he was going to end up at AC Milan. I think they could certainly benefit from his services. And as always, it has been a fairly long road to get a deal done with Daniel Levy, right? Which I respect and have no issues with, but I'm sure Milan's been put through the ringer this summer. But yeah, anyways, it looks like the reporting is that it's less than $2 million off from an agreed fee. What do you think about Emerson taking off? I mean, I assume you don't think it impacts the squad much, right? But what do you have to say about that?
I'm totally fine with it. I think like 20 million price tag is probably an overpay for Emerson if that does end up being what we get, which I don't think it will. I think it'll be a little bit less. If I'm Levy, I'm taking the whatever offer is on the table right now. I don't want to like squander this opportunity to like get a viable sum for Emerson, and he's done a good job this summer moving out players. Honestly, like I can't like off the top of my head, Regulon. And then besides that, like who else is left to move on after Emerson? It's all subjective, obviously, but like there's no one that sticks out like a sore thumb anymore. Earlier in the summer, you would say Spence, but he has kind of had a regeneration over the summer. So
Yeah, all well said. Yeah, then the last piece of news that we'll chat about before we get to our best 11s looks like Yang Min-Hyuk, I hope I'm saying that correctly, from Gangwon FC in Korea has officially signed with the organization. And I shouldn't say it looks like because we know he officially has signed with Tottenham and as a Spurs player, but he's back on loan for the remainder of the season with Gangwon FC, who is a well-known club in the K League and really across the world somewhat for their kits, but they always have a nice, fresh, clean kit. But yeah, he's back on loan at Gangwon. He says he has unfinished business, and I think it's good for the club in terms of how they're looking to structure these young purchases, right? But what do you know about young Yang Min-Hyuk, and what are your thoughts on that signing?
I'm happy with it. 18-year-old winger. We're doing the same strategy that we use for Bergvall Udogie, Sar, Vucevic, who hasn't come through yet, but it's a great strategy. Loan him back to the club he's at, and then see where he is. In this season, their season ends in January, so we're gonna get a look at him in the 24-25 season, which is really exciting. He looks fantastic from the highlights. Looks like he's perfectly suited to play like a touchline winger. And it's about time we did one of these deals with a winger, as that is a position that we all think is a big need right now. But my question for you is, he's our second signing of the window, because technically Bergvall was January, then the loan back. So we've done him, we've done Gray. They're both 18. Bergvall 18 as well, if you want to include him. Do you have concerns that we haven't brought in an experienced first team quality like player? Because obviously these are guys for the future. Archie Gray for the present and future, but someone that's impacting the squad right now as of pretty much August 1st. We got around a month left.
Yeah, I'm not concerned at all, and I only say that because of the Euros. I think there's targets that we're after that, whether or not they even competed at the Euros stagnated the domino effect of transfers that have to happen, right? Teams are always going to want to get the replacement lined up before they sell somebody that's as talented as the type of profile we're going after. So, no, I'm not concerned at all. I think the Euro has slowed things down quite a bit, but I will follow that up by saying a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, if it hasn't happened, I'll start to grow somewhat concerned. We do need a couple. I don't want to say old heads because I want guys in the prime of their career, but just matured, stable first team players, right, to come in and make an impact right away and push those around them to improve. Striker position you and I have talked about is one that I'm thinking about for sure right now, and I really hope we bring in Ivan Toney, as I know you're high on as well. There's talks about Solanke too. I'd be interested in that signing as well. I also think that we need a first team winger, regardless of Yang Min-Hyeok. I think we need someone to come in right now and compete with Johnson on the right, or even compete with Sonny on the left, as crazy as that sounds, right? Or allow Sonny to compete through the middle. So whatever it is, we need a couple guys. And to answer your question again, I'm not concerned now, but I will be in 2 or 3 weeks if it doesn't look like anything started to move.
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of which, a lot of talk about Chiesa. That's pretty much been snuffed
Yeah.
right now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think Lang or Lange, the new director that we have, who's in charge of all scouting and acquisition and all of that, it's reported that he operates in complete silence, and one of his key qualities is keeping things quiet with the media, right? And I think that's kind of happened on a few occasions already under him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do believe that there are good things happening. Is how we can end that conversation, I think. Yeah, and let's jump into it. I know you and I are excited about putting together these all-time 11s. It took me a
Yeah.
little while off air to wrap my head around the process, but I've got it, and I'm stoked to rip into this. What were you gonna
Yeah.
say?
So quickly before that, just want to go over the friendlies that happened.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
yeah, not too different from the ones that we've seen before. Similar starting lineups, Archie Gray in there with the first 11, as well as Ben Davies at left back. Goals from Pedro Porro, Hyunmin Sun, and Mikey Moore again. Nice assist by Jamie Donnelly. He continues to play very well. And then a younger team faced the Japan Youth International side in a closed doors friendly, 5-2 to Tottenham. Will Lancashire brace almost scored in the friendly. In Japan as well, just missed. Mikey Moore brace again. How good is this guy? And then Alejo Veliz gets on the score sheet for the first time in 2024. So that's a little bit of an update. We have another friendly on Wednesday in the dead of night, and then we're looking ahead to Bayern this weekend, which should be our first real test in the preseason.
Yeah, Mikey Moore. Do you think that he's done enough to warrant competing for the let's say the first 18 week one of the Premier League?
Yeah, I think if I'm putting the team out there, he's starting at left wing.
Yeah,
I
would say that.
I feel how I feel about Timo Werner.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've made that clear. But that's my opinion right now. I think he's our best winger option. If Richarlison still struggling with fitness, then you got to go Sonny up top, at least with the team we currently have. If Richarlison's healthy, then I would gladly have more off the bench, but I'd probably go Sonny on the left, Richarlison up top, Johnson on the right. Johnson's bang on the right. Sonny has to start, but it depends on fitness. But if we're talking the squad that's playing right now, I got Mikey Moore in my starting 11.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, should he get a start or Timo Werner, I'd probably go with Mikey Moore, and that's solely because he's nearing or at double-digit goals already in the preseason.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, he's on fire, and you ride fire and you ride form as a manager. And I look at guys like Michael Owen. I look at guys like Wayne Rooney, who did break through at the age of 16/17, and they're not able to do that if
Foden.
somebody Foden and give him the opportunity to so interesting to see. I think regardless of whether or not he starts, I think he'll be in the 18 week one, and I don't think that's in the 18 as we're ravaged, just absolutely ravaged with injuries, and we're going to bring a youth player on and maybe get him some minutes. He's on the bench to play him. So yeah, good for Mike.
Yeah.
Then Archie
for
Grant.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead.
And I'm just gonna say, in my opinion, if Timo Werner is in the starting 11 against Leicester mid-August, I think it's been I don't want to say failure, but it's been a rough summer if he's starting at wing, because this is a signing. I think our first podcast we got Timo Werner back. This is a depth piece. This is not a guy who should be starting games. So if he is starting a season debut, and obviously it's weird with the transfer window, it's not like other sports, but I just don't think he's good enough to be in the starting 11 for our opening game. So,
no, I don't disagree with any of that. And like you mentioned, we just talked about Mikey Moore in depth. Before that, you asked me the question, are you concerned that we haven't brought any first team immediate impact players in? And I said, no, but I would be. And all that ties together to the overarching theme that we're probably not even talking about Mikey Moore versus Timo Werner, because we have brought in somebody who can fill that role. But then it also leads to the conversation. If we sign somebody days before Leicester, it's probably still Mikey Moore. So there's a lot to be seen.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot to be seen. A lot of work to do. Yeah, let's jump into the 11. And again, this is all time Spurs best 11. We're each going to put one together. It's a snake draft format, right? So Max will pick first, I'll pick second, I'll pick third, Max fourth, Max fifth, and so on. I'm sure the listener understands the format when I say snake draft. And then keep your eyes peeled to the social medias afterwards, because we'll get these 11 posted, and we may even ask for polls and opinions and all of that, right? So Seattle folks and all Spurs folks, keep the eyes peeled. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm not just gonna go first. We're gonna do this fair, and I'm gonna flip a virtual coin. So I'm gonna allow you to pick it, heads or tails.
I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna go with heads.
It's tails.
All right. Well, you're up anyway. So
So I'm on the clock.
You're on the clock, man. Rip into it. Let's start a goalkeeper.
Well, I thought we're going to any player, right?
Go ahead. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So my first round pick, the number one pick in the Spurs best 11 draft, my starting striker is going to be Harry Kane, the greatest player to ever play for Spurs. That's all I have to say.
I love it.
Yeah.
Great pick. Yeah, and I should also mention, I did not mention earlier, this will be a 4-3-3 formation that we go with.
Yeah, 4-3-3.
For anyone who was curious. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And
so
then,
Max's first
Scott
pick
has 2 picks now, so he can go with any 2 players he wants.
I will go first at the right wing position. I will go with Gareth Bale. And I picked Gareth Bale because he is one of the most decorated Champions League winners of all time, in my opinion. Has scored one of the best, if not the best, Champions League final goals that I can remember. And yeah, like with Harry Kane, there's not a whole lot I need to say about Gareth Bale. He'll be my
Born
right
to play
winger.
for Spurs.
Yep, no doubt about it. Yeah, and then because I have back-to-back picks, my second pick will be one of my midfielders, and you could call it the 8 or the 10. It doesn't really matter, right? But one of my 3 midfielders, and that'll be Glenn Hoddle. Maybe the best all-around soccer player to wear the shirt. I think he is. The impact that he made at club level, the impact that he made within the national team, both as a player and a manager. Just one of the purest footballers that the Premier League's ever seen, or the first division's ever seen, and we're lucky that he wore a Spurs shirt. So Glenn Hoddle will be my third pick, and he'll be one of my midfielders.
All right. So what do I do here? I got 2 picks. I got my striker, which interestingly leaves you in a good position now, because there is another striker on the board that I'm not inclined to take. So I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep the boys together. I'm going to take Heung-min Son at the left wing position. And who am I going to go with here? I think I might have to go in the midfield and take Paul Gascoigne. Gaza.
Great pick.
Fantastic player.
I like that pick a lot.
Gotta get someone who's won some trophies for us. So
Yep. Excellent pick. All right, I got 2. I will stay up front, and I will pick, and I'm putting him at left wing here. It's going to have to work. I will pick Rafa van der Vaart as my left winger. I think he, didn't have the longest of careers at Spurs, but not only was he a star-studded deadline day signing from Real Madrid, he also helped elevate us to that Champions League level that we rode into the Pochettino days and beyond, right? So I think he was a big piece of our success. And then with my next pick, I will go to the midfield, and I'll pick Luka Modric. And you could call him my 8, right? Whatever. But he is, again, like Hoddle, one of the greatest players to ever wear the shirt, a Ballon d'Or winner. I believe the only Ballon d'Or winner that Tottenham has ever been able to claim. And he's won countless titles in Spain, La Liga, Champions League, both. I can't say enough about Luka Modric, but he'll be one of my midfielders.
okay, I wanted him, but I'm gonna switch it up right now. I'm gonna go with my right wing position. Actually, no. Actually, yeah. I'm gonna go David Ginola.
Ooh, I like
at
that.
the right wing.
These are hard choices too. We're
Fantastic
getting to that
player.
point.
Fantastic player. Great FIFA card. 5-star. And yeah, just another 2000s Spurs player that kind of was a part of when we had a dip after the 90s, and he was a part of that group that brought us back into that big 6 level, like a lot of the players that we're going to mention. And then secondly, I'm going to go with someone from the 90s who finished top 5 in Ballon d'Or voting while wearing a Spurs shirt, and that is former U.S. men's national team manager Jurgen Klinsmann, and he's going to be sitting in my midfield at the 10.
I love that pick.
Yeah.
I love that pick. Yeah, great. We're at that point in the selection process where we really have to start thinking about position as much as player, right? And where things are going to fall. I need to work on my back line a little bit. So with my 2 picks, I will start with the right back position, and I'll go with Kyle Walker. And then I will go to the other midfield position, my one remaining midfield position, and I will go with Musa Dembele, who I think is one of the greatest players to ever wear the shirt. And I've said that with a few guys, right? So call him my top 10, but he's in there. I think injuries played a big part in the way that his career panned out. And I think, dare I say, maybe that without that injury problem, he might not have been at Spurs for as long as he was, right? I could easily see him ending up at Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, something like that, if he wouldn't have had those injury problems, because every player who's ever asked, who's the greatest player they've ever played with, his name is always in and around the conversation, even from guys like Kevin De Bruyne. So I just think he's incredibly talented, and he'll run on my midfield.
Yeah, great pick. Love Musa, obviously. Yeah, so I'm gonna go for the midfield again. Currently as Gascoigne and Klinsmann, and I guess we're just going Ange Ball, no defense, all attack, because Dele Alli is my third midfielder. Yeah, he's my favorite player of all time. He's my favorite footballer, favorite player to play for Spurs. One of the main reasons I started supporting the team, and 2016 through 2019, 2015 through 2019. Actually, it was just special, and I've never seen. He was so unique in the way he played, and obviously, like, one of my idols in the limited football that I've played. But he was just different. Like, people don't move the way that he did during those seasons, and it's sad when I talk about it, but just so much love for Dele. So have to get him on my team.
Yeah, for sure.
And then secondly, I'm shoring up the defense with just a club ledge, Ledley King. Slot him in at center back. Could have been absolutely phenomenal. Another injury hampered career, but just a Spurs legend, still with the club today. You love to see that. So Ledley King is taking up the first position in my defense.
Love it. All right, I will also stick with the defense, and that's where most of my gaps are at this point. The first person I'm going to pick is also a center back, and I will go with Jan Vertonghen. I believe. Yeah, sorry. Vertonghen is not only someone who was at the club for a very long time, but played at the highest level, and I just believe is one of the best center backs that the club's ever had the honor of having represent them. So Jan Vertonghen, and then I'm gonna flip back to goalkeeper. Feels like maybe a little bit of a wasted pick, but I'm feeling it, so I'm gonna go with it, and I'm gonna go with Pat Jennings as my goalkeeper. He is an FA Cup winner. He's a UEFA Cup winner, which is now, of course, the Champions League, right? And 3-time League Cup winner as well. So the most decorated goalkeeper when it comes to accolades we've ever had, and big fan of his. And I never saw him play, of course. Wish I would have.
Yeah. Yeah. So good picks. I got 3 defenders and a goalkeeper left. So I'm just gonna go on forward with my defense right now. I'm gonna go with left back Danny Rose. Just a great servant for the club. Just a wonderful player who had a great career for Spurs. Obviously, never forget his debut goal for Tottenham. Absolutely amazing player, and great decade at the club for Danny Rose. And then for center back, I'm going to pivot. a little bit. This might be a wild card. I'm gonna go with Christian Romero, and
Oh, he was my pick.
and it's kind of insane to put him in a Spurs best 11, but yeah, he has the potential to be one of our greatest center backs, and he's clearly, I'd say, like the most skilled center back that I've watched play for Tottenham, and won the World Cup, and is destined to do great things if he stays here. And yeah, for heavily underrated by everyone else outside the Spurs community, but Christian Romero, one of our best players right now.
Love that, man. He was my right center back pick, and I thought it was going to be a hot take and blah blah blah. But no, I love that pick. All right, well, because I can no longer go with Romero, I will choose another center back that I'm very comfortable and confident in picking, and that's Toby Alderweireld, who just so happened to be young, compatriot, but also a good friend of Jan Vertonghen's. Obviously, played together both for Belgium and for Spurs for a long time. We brought him in for I think $13 million, which is absolutely insane when you can consider the output that he produced in his first shirt. But yeah, one of the best center backs we've had, and I'll gladly stick him at right center back. And then sticking with the defense, I will go to left back, and I'm going to go with the player that I'm going to pick is maybe not because they're the best left back to ever play for Spurs. I think they're incredibly talented, but I just love this guy, and I'm going to go with Benoit Assola-Koto,
Yeah.
who was, I believe, very talented, but also just known to be a really good lighthearted guy who the squad got on with. And stories, if you haven't heard these stories, definitely scour the socials and find them. But apparently stories of him coming into big matches with a croissant and a bag of chips or crisp, as they would say, and like a hot chocolate, when everyone else is eating bananas and whatever else. He was just kind of a go with the flow type of guy. I love him. So he'll be my left back. And that kicks back to you, and I believe we have one position left. Is that right?
Yeah, I have two left, but I was thinking maybe we could do one like super sub and manager. So just to wrap it up.
I like it. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to goalkeeper, Hugo Lloris. Obviously, there's only two choices for a keeper. And I got second pick, and I'm glad to have our goalkeeper for the past decade and a half on my squad. Been through a lot of battles, been on some of the best Tottenham teams of all time, won the World Cup. Yeah, love Hugo. Was a great player for the club. And then right back is kind of dead after Kyle Walker. So I'm going with Kieran Trippier. Much maligned during his time at the club, but hindsight is 2020. He's been a really good player ever since. And again, a guy who is in some of the best Tottenham teams that we've ever seen consistently. So I'm going with Trips. Right back, I'd say, is not the deepest position there for Tottenham. So yeah, I'll give it back to you for the manager and super sub, and then I'll close it out with mine.
Yeah, and I still got my striker position too.
Oh, you have your striker. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So no, so I'll do two. Kick
Yeah.
back to
And
you,
then you'll
and
do
then
the
I'll do
last
my
one.
my third at the end or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, you picked Harry Kane. There's no other choice. Yeah, you picked Harry Kane, and in my opinion, that only leaves one player to pick, and that's Jimmy Greaves. Jimmy Greaves, obviously, Harry Kane broke Jimmy's record. Rest in peace, Jimmy Greaves, of course. Sadly lost him somewhat recently. 220 goals just an absolute monster up top. And again, never had the honor of seeing him play. I would have loved to have. But Jimmy was Mr. Tottenham and still is, until Harry Kane came along and put himself in that conversation as well. But Jimmy Greaves will be my striker. And then super sub and manager. I'm gonna go with my manager first.
Damn it.
And I don't know if that's allowed, but that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna go with Mr. Bill Nicholson, who is probably on the top of many folks' list, right?
Yeah, Mr. Tottenham himself. Yeah, so I have my super sub and manager. So my super sub is gonna be Burba.
Ooh, I like
Berbatov, bagged in our last trophy, 2008 League Cup final. And just one of the filthiest players that you'll ever see. So watch some Burba highlights because that man was disgusting and doing it in the Prem for United, Tottenham. Just love the way that guy plays. Truly, it's like poetry in motion, the way he dribbles. And then my manager, it has to be Pochettino. Yeah, it has to be Pochettino, no matter how we feel about him now. What he delivered with the lack of support that he had from the board, absolutely incredible. Title races, Champions League finals. You guys were all there for it, and it was incredible. So, Mauricio Pochettino is my manager.
Love it. Yeah, great shout. Great option if you can't go with Bill Nicholson. So, and yeah, that leaves my super sub. And I've thought long and hard about this. I really, really wanted to say, and this is cheating for me to do this, I'm going to say it. I really wanted to say Jermaine Defoe, but I'm not going to. And so I'll get his name in there as an honorable mention. But my super sub will be Christian Eriksen. And I say that because you never know what a football match is going to require, and he can always come on and pull some sort of string and make something happen out of nothing. And that's a good guy to have on the bench. So I'll go with Christian Eriksen. And in another world, I maybe even have him in my best all 11. And I think if we would have won a trophy with him, I may have put him in there somewhere, somehow, but he'll be my super sub.
All right. Yeah. So to recap, my team, Hugo Lloris in goal. My center back partnership is Ledley King and Christian Romero. My fullbacks are Danny Rose and Kieran Trippier. My midfield is insane. It's Dele Alli, it's Jurgen Klinsmann, and Paul Gascoigne. And then my front three is Son, Kane, and Ginola. And that team is managed by Mauricio Pochettino. Coming off the bench is Dimitar Berbatov.
Love it. Yeah, and to recap mine, Pat Jennings in net. Center back pairing is Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Walker at right back. Benoit Aswell-Akoto at left back. My midfield is Dembele, Modric, and Hoddle. And my front three is Van der Vaart, Bale, and Jimmy Greaves. Managed by Bill Nicholson, and Christian Eriksen is willing and ready to come off the bench at any point.
Yeah. Do you think that, when I look at our squads, I feel like yours is more nostalgic for that early 2010s, Spurs, early mid 2010s, and mine is a little bit later 2010s into present day, which I think
100%.
reflects when we started following the team. So.
No, 100%. I think you're spot on. I think it definitely correlates to our different journeys, with Spurs, if you will say. I think that my team would give you a little bit of trouble in the midfield.
Oh, for sure.
Up top, but up top, you've got my defense in trouble without a doubt. Harry Kane alone, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Or
I don't
Kobe.
have a Harry Kane up top. I have a Jimmy Greaves who, of course, I have immense respect for, but the game was different in the '60s, right? I won't pretend that it wasn't either. And
I
so who
think
knows what it looks like, but when Harry
Romero
Kane's up
might
top,
have him on locks for that. For
I think
Jimmy
so
Greaves
too,
versus
unfortunately.
Romero, I'm might have to take
Yeah.
Christian, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's it's there's so many intricacies to this and so many unknown variables that we'll frankly never be able to know, right? So, but nonetheless, a very fun exercise. We'll ultimately let the listener decide in the end who has the strongest 11. We're going to put a poll out. Make sure you vote if you've been following the podcast and the YouTube show, right? Let us know what you think. But yeah, other than that, we'll do more stuff like this going forward. I know there's talk about us doing something like this with the current squad and putting together, two 11s with just the current squad before the season kicks off. Give listeners a chance to play around with what that might look like. And I think that exercise will give us a really good idea of what our depth looks like as we go into a season
yeah,
with
agreed.
4 competitions that are super important. I think that's one thing we can touch on before we wrap is we have European football again, and it's not the Champions League, but I don't think as an organization we can be too proud to be really excited about Europa League under Ange Postecoglou and the current project, right? I think Europa League gives this squad a really interesting opportunity to go and compete for something under a manager who is just a ruthless, foaming at the mouth winner. For as well as he carries himself with the press, he is, he's just going out for blood every single time he manages, right? And I think because of that, we have a real shot to do something in the Europa League and, of course, in the domestic cups and even in the Premier League, right? I may not predict Spurs to finish first when we do our preseason predictions, right? Which we'll do. Um,
Oh,
but
you
do I
may,
think it's
you might
possible?
not.
Yeah, I might not, but I think it's possible. So yeah, it's just an exciting season ahead. We'll have all kinds of build up before that happens. So pay attention to the pod. Um, Make sure you like and subscribe as well. That does us a huge solid and helps continue to push not only Spurs content but Seattle content, right? Which is the point behind the official podcast of Seattle Spurs. Max, anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
Yeah, so some closing thoughts. You look at our best 11s and you look at the midfield, and those midfields are just immaculate. So I just want to say that the
Nasty.
amount of talent Spurs have had in the midfield is insane. And Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, like, uh, will they ever get to this point? Who knows? But
It's
hey,
possible.
who
It's
knows? Who
possible.
knows? It's exciting.
It's possible.
And yeah, and then for Seattle folks, the Wits End is showing the Leicester game in Seattle. Cascades, I have to double check because it is a weekday, but find us at the Wits End and Cascades for matches. It is August. It is time for the Premier League. And obviously, over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll get some more signings. We'll cover the friendlies, and then we're going to have a huge preseason pod and hopefully maybe get some guests on for the big preseason show because I'm just pumped for this season. I'm fired up. I'm way more excited than I was last year. So it's going to be really
Yeah, no doubt.
interesting month, August for Spurs. So excited.
Yeah, well said. And yeah, thank you for shouting out our respective homes, Cascades down south in Puyallup and the Wits End up north in Seattle, right? Um, for those of you who are listening who maybe have friends and family who are finding their way into soccer, we know Copa America was big this year. We know the Premier League has continued to grow and grow each and every season, and we know that the World Cup's around the corner. So as your friends and family venture into the soccer world, bring them to the Wits End, bring them to Cascades. Let us serenade them in all things Spurs and continue to build the Seattle Spurs fan base. We're big here in Seattle about doing things our way and the right way, but we want things to be, you know, at a and we want more people to raise a glass with at either one of our homes, right? So bringing your family and friends, get them into Spurs, get behind the club. Like Max said, it's an exciting time to be no better time to get those without a club involved in Spurs. So but yeah, for Max, for myself, we appreciate all the time. Again, you can find Max at Going Limbs on all various social media platforms. You can find myself at Scott G. Bird on all social media platforms. But yeah, so for all those who have been here listening, we appreciate it. My internet is giving me some trouble, people, but we appreciate everybody's time, and we appreciate those who've listened. Be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Take off work August 19th.
Take off work. No class, no work. Nobody's doing shit. See you on August. See you for the first week of the season at the Wits End in Cascades.
At the Wits End,
and like
12
Max said,
p.m.
Yeah, and like Max said, we will have confirmation from Cascades for those down south before the first match as to whether or not they'll be open. Weekday games can be challenging for establishments, right? So they're working through whether or not they'll be there, and as soon as we know, we'll let you all know. But yeah, as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.